Well, how you doing, YouTube? This is episode 9. I'm going to give you a little update here. I've been kind of at a standstill waiting on the machine shop. Actually, I switched machine shops because there was some miscommunication on the way that I wanted the cylinder head reworked and repaired. The first machine shop found 2 cracks. The first was just from one coolant passage to another, and that wasn't a huge deal. The second one was between the intake and exhaust valve seats of the number 1 combustion chamber. So they weren't going to fix it the way that it should be fixed, so I had to switch machine shops, and I'm waiting still to get that stuff back from the second machine shop. Second is I'm going to tackle the water pump rebuild myself. I've already disassembled and cleaned the water pump, and I reassembled it with all the old parts still. I'm still waiting on, I got both my bearings and one of the 2 seals I need, so I'm still waiting on the other seal, but I figured I'd tear it apart, clean it up, put it back together, and then re-tear it apart to show you how this water pump comes apart. And I did find a problem while I was cleaning this water pump, so I'm going to have to post a message on yesterday's tractors to see what other people think about it, if it's usable, or if I just spent $70 on bearings and seals that I'm not going to use. But anyways, let's get after it. I'm going to try to find a decent place to set this camera. I don't know. I got the water pump here on the floor. So here it is, all assembled. Fan blade and all. So I'm going to try to, let me see. Let's just use this. I'll just use this 5-gallon bucket of gear lube. Make sure the lid's on, of course. There, I think you can see. But first thing we want to do when we disassemble the water pump is pull this nut off. And then there's a pin that goes through. You can see it there. There's a pin that goes through this casting that holds that casting in place. It's spring loaded too. There are some springs on the bottom side of this casting, right in this area on both sides. So let's take that nut off. And you can use a small punch to drive that pin out. Sorry, it's been kind of a while since giving you guys an update. This will probably be part 1 of 2 for this video, simply because I don't know if I'm gonna have to replace another piece on this. Or not. So we drive that pin out. And that's kind of what it looks like. There's a beveled area that goes towards the center shaft, the impeller shaft, when you reassemble. So everything just kind of pulls apart. This pulls straight off. Take your springs off. And then these 4 bolts here, you know, there's 2 bolts and then the 2 studs that had the springs on it. Those come out, and then you pull your fan blade assembly off. So we'll pull these out. Just like that. And next, you can lift your fan off. So there's our pump. The next thing we want to do is this spanner nut. You can use a spanner wrench, or you can use a punch or screwdriver and drive it around with a hammer and a punch. That's the way I did it. I don't have a spanner wrench. So this is already loose, but just to show you kind of how to do it, I'll grab a screwdriver and a hammer here. So what you want to do, you can see these grooves in the spanner nut, is you want to put the screwdriver right inside here and just tap it with the hammer, not too hard because I believe this is brass, so not too hard, but just enough to try to get it to turn a little bit, and then you can go around to the other notches and keep working your way around as it turns, kind of applying even pressure. So it'll look something like this. You know, just enough to get it loose where you can turn it by hand. Like I said, mine's already loose, but I just did that for demonstration purposes. So we take that spanner nut off, and then we've got this large nut here on the top, and you can either use a large socket or a pipe wrench if you don't mind leaving a couple grooves in it. But like I said, mine's finger tight, so we'll take that off. There's that. And by the way, as soon as this casting comes off, remember we took that dowel pin and the springs and everything off? As soon as that comes off, the impeller shaft will slide right out of the pump. So it'll come out the bottom side here. So we can set that aside as well. Next, we take this plate off, and we can see there's a spacer directly behind it that slips over that main shaft. And there's our bearing for the front of the turning assembly, if you will. There's a gasket that goes on this surface here. I've already cleaned that up with a flap disc on a 4.5-inch angle grinder. This one's already been wore down quite a bit, so it's nice. Works well for cleaning gasket surfaces and such. It's not too abrasive. Next is the set screw that adjusts the flange to tighten that fan belt. So we loosen this set screw, and again, you'll probably have to use a wrench. My stuff is all finger tight. So it'll look something like that. Square head with a lock nut on it. Now, this portion here is the portion that we want to hit with a brass punch to drive this adjusting ring around, because these are known to crack. So you have to be careful with them. You know, start lightly tapping. It doesn't hurt to soak these threads in a good deal of penetrant before you, probably a day or two before you start to really disassemble this thing. It wouldn't hurt to wire brush these threads and then soak them with penetrant to get the accumulated crud off of here. But once you get this thing to turn, it's just a matter of turning it off the hub. And lifts right off. So that is the adjustment ring for the belt. And this hub assembly should lift right off the main pump body. My stuff's all pretty dry. So there's the turning assembly. There's a seal in the back side with a bearing. And then the seal on the front side is actually in the back of this plate that we pulled off the top. So after we pulled this big nut off, we pulled this plate off. And there's a seal that gets driven into the back side of that. So the bearing for the front should just pull right out. This one feels actually pretty good. I don't feel a whole lot of vibration in the bearing. There aren't any flat spots in the ball bearings inside here. So, and behind that is a spacer. And down inside is again the bearing on the back side of the hub assembly. But in order to get that bearing out, we have to remove the seal from the back side first, and the bearing comes out the back side. So other than that, there's a felt seal that goes around here, and I was told that I probably wouldn't need to replace that. It's just a dust seal, and I was told I probably wouldn't need to replace it since I'm going to put double lip seals in this pump body instead of a single lip. Double lip has two lips on the seal. When you look at the surface, there's two kind of lips. That the first is to keep dust out, and the second is to keep the fluid inside the pump body. So I may just reuse this felt seal. It's still squishy. It's not brittle and hard. So that is one thing I may reuse. Down inside, I don't know if you can see down inside here, there is packing. So I have to dig that out with a hook. But I've got some new packing here. I'll show you kind of what it looks like. You can get it from Ace Hardware. Graphite Packing. I got an 1/8 inch by 24 inch graphite packing. They use it in old faucets and valve stems and things like that. But it's the same stuff. So, and that is what your spanner nut tightens down into to kind of create a seal around the impeller shaft. So I'm not sure how many rows of packing I'll need. It looks like there's probably at least an 1.25 inches or so. If I look down inside here, I can see a ways down to where it goes. But matter of fact, why don't I just take a hook to see what we're working with here. So there's one, or 2 rows of packing rather. Okay, so we got 1, 2, 3, 4. So there's 4 packing rings. Basically, they cut them. You know, you cut a strip off, and you wrap it around. Make sure that they're touching when you wrap it around your impeller shaft. So in our case, it'll be easy because we've already got the old packing. We can just measure how long it is and cut a new piece. 4 new pieces basically, and you'll just insert them. The way I'll do it is I'll probably insert the impeller shaft and then insert these down. After the impeller shaft is inside, I'll insert them down and pack them down around with a small screwdriver or a pick tool. So looks like there's four pieces of packing. For that, so on to the issue that I found while tearing this pump apart. Remember I told you these adjustment rings are known for cracking? Well, in my case, it's not the adjustment ring that's cracked, it's the actual hub assembly. I'm not sure if you can see that bolt hole there. You can see a crack going straight across. Not only does it go straight across, but it goes down into the hub assembly itself. So let's see if I can get a better angle here. There. So you see the crack traveling down the threads, and it stops about halfway through the casting here. But I'm open to ideas. If you guys think that this will be okay to use, let me know. Otherwise, I guess I could bring it to a machine shop to see if they could repair it, or try to find a used hub assembly or used water pump that has, that's the thing with used, you don't know if that's going to be cracked either. But I could try to find a used water pump and take the hub assembly off of it. But I guess I'm open to ideas. That's really all there is for this disassembly of this water pump. So as far as taking the seals out, I'll do that in the next video when I get the other seals. But And there again, I don't even know if I'm going to be replacing them. So it's basically all you're going to need is a seal puller. It's just a hooked tool that. And since we're not really worried about the old seals, I'll probably just use a screwdriver and a hammer and get them out by force. You just have to be careful so you don't damage the surface that the seal presses into. So this outside surface in here, if you're gonna do it, you gotta make sure you're only damaging the seal itself. But that's really all I got for now. So again, you know, as this assembly slides down, the hub assembly, the way that these go together is big spacer goes down, and you've got your bearing for the front side, then a small spacer, and then that plate that the front seal is mounted inside of. So pretty simple, but like I said, let me know what you guys think on that cracked hub assembly. If you think that it's okay to use, or if I need to replace it. Alright, that concludes part 1 of episode 9. So there's all our parts laid out. Everything that kind of goes to the pump. Oh, almost everything. Really simple, not much to them. But again, that concludes episode 9, part 1. Once I get the other seal and I hear back from some of the guys on yesterday's tractors, I'll make a determination as to what I'm going to do with this cracked hub. All right. Thanks for watching, and have a great day. See you later.